Welcome everyone. In my previous cash flow session, we talked about the main importance of the cash flow forecasting and the features of the cash flow forecasting by using the case study is agar brick making, and we talk about the importance of cash flow forecasting by using a case study, and we talk about there are main two importance given here, like pay your bills and to prevent business failures. These are the main like advantages, main importance they are mentioning. But I told you, even case studies, you have to use this knowledge in a right context. Example, we talk about the 2020 November paper. We talk about the case study was about the drumming school, and they asked what is the importance of cash for a drumming school, the TADS. And then the mark scheme test mentioned that you need to have money to pay your electricity bill of the music studio. Electricity bill of the music studio. Why? If they cannot afford to pay the the electricity bill of the studio, then you cannot continue the business because there will be a power cut. Like that, you have to apply to the given case. And second point I mentioned, moreover, the cash is important for the that OLIT and TADS company because in order to pay the music teachers' salaries. If they cannot pay the salaries, then there will be no lessons. Like that, you have to always contextualize answers expecting. If it's a case study was a, let's say, airplane, like a airline industry, you can see the employees are normal. You can say pilots to pay the pilots' salaries, the staff, other crew members' salaries, and to pay the other overhead expenses such as insurance bills of the airlines, such as to pay the fuel and everything of the airline. Like that, you have to always you have to use that imagination because we can only teach the theoretical aspects, but in examination when you go practically, you have to think the correct contextualization. If it's a bakery, you have to write accordingly, right? If it is a brick manufacturing company like previously, you have to think accordingly like that. So that talent must have to get the success in the business studies as well as other subject like economics also, because the application skill is the most important skill in like here knowledge application analysis and evaluation, because we are dealing with the case studies, small business case study and a large business case. When you're dealing with the case study, you have to be very sure about the application, because otherwise, if you're providing like a generic answer like this, these generic terms, because a lot of students they are, even myself also, I have to go through the short notes. Like I have to read the main important points, advantages, disadvantages. But when you apply that advantages and disadvantages, the features to the case study, that's a talent, right? The majority of the students are, that's why they are confusing with the application part in the business side. So we talk about we need money for two things: to pay suppliers and to prevent business failures. And after we talk about the main difference between cash and profit, we talk about the cash is something, we are talking the cash basis and accrual basis in accountancy. Additional capital introduced by the owner, it belongs to the cash, but it's not belongs to profit. And in profit, the credit sales, credit purchases also consider in a calculated income and expenses. But in cash flow, we are not taking cash flow forecasting the income and expenses like buying and selling goods and services. Like mainly we are doing that, taking the cash basis only. Credit transaction we are not considering. The third one we talk about when especially purchasing fixed asset, not selling. When you're purchasing fixed asset, the cash flow will be impacted, but nothing will go to the profit. Nothing will impact the income statement because this is just a purchase, right? Cash outflow. Asset will increase, asset will decrease. Nothing for the income statement. But when you're selling, there can be profit or loss can be a rise, because that's why it's making a disposal account. In case of a disposal, when you're selling asset, then their disposal gain or loss can be happen. So we're talking only the purchase situations. And finally, another difference between cash and profit is the amount of cash at the end of the period. End of the period, we have a cash balance and we are brought forward to the next financial year, next month. But in profit, not like that. The balance of the profit or the return earnings, what you call the profit will be not, we are not taking to the brought forward to the next financial year as an opening balance of the profit. But cash, we are taking opening balance of cash. But in income statement, profit we are not writing, profit brought forward something we are not writing. So keep in mind that also the difference between cash and profit, there is a past paper question. They explain the difference between cash and profit. Then You must be able to write one point and two another development points to describe the difference between cash and profit. Right? These are the points that you can see the examination points that we can check in examinations, like exam pilot areas, everything, right? So why we need the money, why business need the cash, and what's the difference between cash and profit, and cash inflows, outflows. Basically, cash inflow, outflow, net cash flow definitions questions can become to define what is inflow, define outflow, define net cash flow, define cash flow forecast. Kind of questions can be expected. After that, we talk about cash inflows are the money coming into the business, outflows, money going out of the business, inflows, outflows, right? And investments, right? You can see cash inflows are normally typical example. We talk about the case study of the something like a this motor service company, petrol, repair, car sales, miscellaneous. These are the incomes, cash inflows. As well as there are outflows like wages, petrol, parts, car purchases, other expenses. Cash outflows also there. And we talk about mainly the format of a cash flow forecast. Like format looks like this. There is like normally it can be 3 months or 12 months. So cash inflow will be, you can see inflows are there, and then you can subtotal of the inflow, and cash outflow is a heading, and total cash outflow, different outflows are coming, and then subtotal of the outflows. If you deduct subtotal of inflow minus subtotal of outflow, that value we call here net cash flow, NCF, net cash flow, which is the subtotal of inflow minus subtotal of outflow, that we call net cash flow. And after that, we are adding the opening balance to the net cash flow, then we can find the closing balance. So if you ask in MCQ question, what is the formula to find the closing balance? Closing balance equal net cash flow plus opening balance. Another important scenario you can find out here, June, July, August, September, like that. So always the closing balance of June goes to the opening balance of July. Closing balance of July goes to the opening balance of August. So it goes like a chain. You can see always the closing balance and opening balance. You can see always there's a contact with the previous month or previous quarter. So if you ask to define what is closing balance, you can see closing balance is the opening balance of the previous month. Now, what is opening balance? Opening balance is the closing balance of previous month. Right. So there are some calculation, like look at this activity, activity number 2, case study cash flow forecasting. This kind of questions are there in some examination questions to find out the missing figures, calculation questions, missing figures. Sometimes it can be MCQ question, sometimes it can be a 2-marker calculate question. So here you can see month of February, March, January, February, March, total cash inflows they have given, total cash outflows you have to find out, subtotal you have to find out. It's a pretty simple calculation. You have to take the calculator and add them all, these 4 expenses. Then you can get the total cash outflow. From total cash outflow, right, subtotal of inflow minus subtotal of outflow we call net cash flow, net cash flow. And then after that, we have to take the opening balance. So luckily, January opening balance they are given is, we suppose that is the closing balance of December. And then we have to take down the closing balance of January. Closing balance of January will be net cash flow plus opening balance. Then this closing balance goes to February, and this February closing balance goes to March. This continues like that. So this kind of a questions will be sometimes, in examinations, there can be sometimes questions in the IGCSE examinations as well as unit exams and everything. It's a very good question to find out the missing elements. So I think if you go to the marking scheme of this case, we can find out where this actually they are testing this one. The inflow, outflow, net cash flow calculation should be definitely you have to know, because this relationship sometimes it can be tested in a calculation question, or a other thing is it can be tested for a writing question. Basically calculation question. Sometimes the main writing questions normally asking from cash flow forecast is like what is the importance of calculating cash flow, what is the main benefit of preparing cash flow forecast, like that. So there can be some chances can be there that cash flow forecast, because in examination this is very popular and very common area. That's why the cash flow forecasting is really important. So yeah, I would like to take you to the cash flow forecasting lesson. So this one now, yeah, take you to that. Okay, here we go. So you can see in this question, you can see January, February, March. So now we can find that cash total inflows are given. Here I'm referring this. Total cash outflows, you can see that the totals are here. This is the addition of these four expenses. And total inflow minus total outflow, we call net cash flow here. 3,000 minus 3,430, answer is minus 430. That is the net cash flow. And then if you add the opening balance, positive 230, the closing balance becomes negative 200. So January negative 200 goes to February opening balance, and then we'll take that the net cash flow of the February 120. So 120 plus minus 200 become minus 80. That is February, and minus 80 will go to the March as opening balance. But in March, you can see there's a good net cash flow, 1,470. If you add them up, the closing balance of March become 1,390. Right? They're asking this case study. It's a bookshop. What evidence is there to forecast to support this view? The bookshop is struggling. That's a statement. How we can suggest, how we can interpret the bookshop is struggling. Although the cash flow forecast of Priscilla's shows that the closing balance improved, minus 200 to 1,400. The reason for this because the 2,000 fresh capital was injected in March. That's the thing. Without cash injection, this should be a difficult. A closing balance in March would be 600. This shows the worsening situation over the 3 months period like that. So negative net cash flow, yeah, negative net cash flow we can indicate in the first month, second month, third month is improved. Basically, the last month, if you talk about the why this big impact, the big improvement came, the inflow of 2,000 fresh capital. You can see this is the main reason, inflow of 2,000 fresh capital. Like that, you can find out. Sometimes in interpretation questions also possible from cash flow forecast. You don't need to prepare the full cash flow, but you must be able to find out the missing figures and missing elements and everything from the cash flow forecasting, right? So I would like to show you some kind of like a whole paper, like a past paper that we actually were talking about, like, in a unit test. So I'm taking the 2019 internal order paper, 2019 paper to discuss based on the cash flow and sources of finance, everything. So we can do a good revision today because it will be, I think, will be benefit for you to take the 2021 examination. Here we go. So this case study, you can see this is the 2019 September internal order paper. You can see here, Megan and Charlie runs a small business called DNCE, and they are making cakes for special occasion, and they are giving so many information, right? So I'm not doing the fully paper here. I just want to make sure that in the structure of the paper you have to understand. So, and then they are giving some expenses, how much the startup capital. So you should be able to calculate the startup capital after reading this small case study, how much they have invested, how much they have spent there from income, startup capital, because from sources of finance, you know how to calculate startup capital. And then what is the Charlie's contribution? It's a partnership business. So Charlie's contribution, they have given how much he invested to the business, they have to separately calculate. And then you can see the monthly overhead cost. So monthly overhead cost, you can calculate by go through these things, advertising, wages, everything. You have to calculate the monthly overhead cost and everything. And after that, asking source of financing, state the difference. State the difference between internal and external source of finance using example from the case study. So this case normally the paper and everything, yeah, we are today only discussing the paper, so we can get only answer because this is just a practice paper, right? So the state the difference between internal and external source of finance. Normally state questions, we know it comes from a 1 mark question. Here we are asking the two, like state difference between internal and sources of finance in the case study. So then you have to mention the two differences with the application, even state question. You have to give the examples also from the case study. And again, look at this table, provide advantage and disadvantage. It's 9 marks, so it's just a list down question. Personal savings, what is the advantage and what's the disadvantage? Return profits, what is the advantage and what is the disadvantage? Selling assets, what's the advantage, what's the disadvantage? Overdraft, trade payable, loan capital, share capital, venture capital, crowdfunding. So this list everything that we have discussed, internal and external, everything. So you should know at least one advantage, one disadvantage, right? And state one method of peer-to-peer finance for DNC. Here, the peer-to-peer money means like the money coming from the friends and family, like the related financing. So here, some money we can see evidence, some money they have taken from their grandmother, grandfather. They have invested from peer-to-peer financing. You can see here, they bought 50,000 from peer-to-peer financing. Charlie's father, Mervyn, helped in this case. So Charlie's father helping him to get that. So it's the application you have to mention one method of peer-to-peer finance. In this case, the money coming from the relatives and family members. That's called the peer-to-peer. And give 3 types of cash outflows expenses. So that is a 3-mark question. So this is normally like we are testing mainly the application skills of you. From the case study, identify the outflow. So that this case, they are spending money for different outflows. You can identify advertising. So they have to pay £100 for each month for advertising. This expense, 500 for wages, and then they have to buy some ingredients for this. So you can see rent for they have to pay for 600. These are the outflows. Every month they have to pay advertising, wages, and rent. So there are plenty of answers are there with the numbers you can say. And Mcq and Charlie have considered using a method of obtaining a new delivery van, oven and delivery van. So analyze how leasing would be benefit. It's an analyze question which carries 6 marks usually. Analyze question should mention leasing 2 benefits of leasing. It's very flexible method, comparative to the other sources like bank overdraft and everything. So leasing sometimes interest will be more convenient. Easy payment schemes are there, installment basis. And you can use the oven and the delivery van by paying a small amount each month. Like so, because long-term benefits are there with delivery van and everything, but you can acquire and you can use it over the useful lifetime. Yeah, if you have a question, you can raise. I think we can see the debate has a question. Yeah.
Sir, when you say leasing, sir, does it mean hire purchase? Sir?
Yeah, leasing and hire purchase, same. Yes, leasing.
Okay, sir.
Correct. Okay, and the next question, analyze another question, 6 mark, analyze 2 benefits of preparing a cash flow forecast for DNCE. So benefits of cash flow forecasting. So we have to start this one. Benefits of cash flow forecasting, we discuss here. There are normally 4 benefits are there. Like normally this is the page number. You can see the why cash flow forecast important, page number 223. In your textbook, you can see the 4 benefits listed here. Cash flow forecast will be benefit to identify the shortages. Cash flow forecast will be helping you to supporting applications for funding. When you're asking for bank loans, right? You need to have the cash flow forecast as a supplementary document to convince your investors, to convince your banker that you have kind of a plan, you have this kind of a cash flow. You have to show them the money will be coming like this in particular month. So then I'll be able to pay your loan and the amount of investment I can pay like this. It's like kind of an investment. That's why we call cash flow forecast. It's not an actual cash flow, it's a forecasted cash flow. And finally, it's a help to in the planning the business. So it's a planning tool. When we talk about the business planning we are doing in advanced level. It's a part of the financial plan of a business. There are marketing plan, operation plan, personal human resource plan, right? So this is the part of the financial plan. You provide all the cash flow forecast, budgets, break even, so everything that we are going to do in next sessions. So it's helping when planning the business, the planning tool. And finally, it will help you to monitor your cash flow. It's a monitoring process. So monitor your cash flow forecast. You can find out whether you have to go for a bank loan, whether which instant you have to you can get alert some kind, which instant you need some external finance, which instances you have more surplus finance and where you can go for investment. Like you can investigate the reasons these figures were different. We can compare with the actual cash flow and the budgeted cash flow. This is a budgeted cash flow, forecasted cash flow. We can compare with the actual cash flow. I show you that day the actual cash flow forecast of the financial company from the Colombo Stock Exchange, like this advanced company. You can see This is an actual cash flow of the reputed company in Sri Lanka, cash flow statement. So we can compare, if we have budgeted cash flow, we can compare how our cash flow forecast, the actual cash flow will differ from the budgeted cash flow. Like that, organizations are using these situations, or organizations always they are using the cash flow forecast to monitor, yeah, financial info and outflow. So there are, these are the main four reasons. The importance they're asking, you can pick two advantages, and you can write. It's a very common question in past papers also. Advantage of cash flow forecast. Therefore, you should remember these four, and at least two you should be memorized. Must be able to write some application. The application point must be able to write down. Okay. The other questions I'm talking, that's a 6-marker question. And at the end, you can see the cash flow forecast, small cash flow forecast question I have given. 4-marker questions. Complete the cash flow forecast. 4 marks. So advertising. So according to case study, if you go through, we have advertising worth £100 every month. Every month you have to pay £100. You have taken it from the case study. So you can just 100, 100, 100. And then you have to get the subtotal of inflow is there. Then you can find the subtotal of outflow. Then the difference between subtotal of inflow and outflow we call net cash flow, right? So net cash flow, you can fill the second column with that. And there is opening balance given. So opening balance plus net cash flow, that is equal to the closing balance. Closing balance. So closing balance of October goes to opening balance in November. And again, opening balance on November plus net cash flow is the closing balance of November. And this November closing balance goes to December opening balance. Like that. So it's 4 out of 4 marks. And finally, they ask another 3-mark question. Explain why sales forecast in December is higher in 2 months. Because this is a business, if you go through, is a cake selling business. It's a kind of a bakery kind of a thing. They are preparing cakes. There's a making special occasions for birthdays and weddings. So you can see the month of December is a party season like Christmas. Right? A lot of people would like to order some cakes from them. That's why their orders, you can see sales grow 10,000 to 15,000 for this month. They have about 50% gain increase of sales. And you can see that's the main reason why the sales normally high in December. Usually you can see that's a kind of like a guessing answer. You can see common sense. You can see December month because the cakes and related, you can see high revenue coming from the orders of the cake because there are party season, Christmas season. Right. So basically this is the normal like so 36 mark we have a tester like. So this exam also I would like to give about like a same kind of a thing. So for tomorrow examination also definitely I will be testing like a but not the exact question, right? A totally different paper, total different case study. So we'll be there. So I think you can get some idea about how we're going to test and everything about this cash flow forecast. Examination also it's like that. Okay, so now the cash flow forecasting, the ending part, you can see the this small multiple choice question. Which of the following is an example of cash inflow? Wages, cash sales, rent, interest paid. Cash inflow example. Okay, Dive, what is the answer?
So they are asking the cash inflows, right, sir?
Yes.
So is it like
BB, cash sales?
Yeah, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So question number 2 asking which of the following is an example of cash outflow. Like that's a practical question, but don't expect this kind of easy questions. Which of the following example is a cash outflow? Interest received, cash from trade payables, fresh capital from capital injection, payment of raw materials. Okay, the outflow we can find out D, payment for raw materials. Here, look at this question. It's a good question. Opening balance given 35,700 and the net cash flow was a negative 11,500. So what's the closing balance then? Opening balance plus net cash flow is closing balance. Then because since it's a negative balance, if you have a calculator, you can see it should be 35,700 minus 11,500. The answer is 24,200. 24,200 answer is A. Right. And the last question you can see, when is a business cannot pay its debt is to be, we call, if you cannot pay our debts, we call this, what's the answer? Okay. Yes, I can see, answers are coming. Yeah, Devin, you're correct again. Answer is, we call insolvent, right? Insolvent or bankrupt. Right. So this is the normal extent of the in a past papers. The most important thing in a cash flow. There's a nice question called Inari Garden case study. We have to actually prepare with you. It's a very good interactive activity to prepare actual cash flow forecast. So I have given in my handout also this table, the relevant the cash flow forecast. So you can when you're preparing the cash flow forecasting, so I have all the tables, necessary tables and everything I have given to get to, if you go to my handout, the tute number 29, so you can find out the necessary information and details. So fill this one. So this question, importance of this for importance. So we should go through. If you doesn't collect the books and everything, don't worry. So in my handout, I have given all the necessary notes. You can go through this. And business can improve cash flow by reducing your outflow, reducing expenses, and increasing the sales inflow, cash inflows. So why do we need cash flow forecast? Another reasons, another importance. These are 4 reasons are there. Importance of cash flow forecast. I have given another important thing. Same thing. Monitor cash flow. This is the simplified version. Supporting application for funding. Identify the shortages. Reduce the bank interest cost. Ensure that we make payments to suppliers. Supporting our business plan, right? Important stuff. And what are the main causes of the cash flow problems? Why cash flow shortage is coming? Practical aspects, because of the slow payments from the customers, sales not high as predicted, cost is higher than predicted, unexpected cost, these things, right? And we talk about the cash flow can be improved by these things like cash flow. You in the business organization, you can improve by increasing your sales, taking another overdraft facility or like a fresh capital, increasing owner's capital, fresh capital, payment term, can negotiate with the customers, negotiate with your suppliers, right? From suppliers, you can get more time to pay their bills, but from customers, you can negotiate with them. You can actually reduce the time that you are normally giving them to pay. So in large business and more small business, everyone, so cash flow forecast is important, especially large businesses. So business of all sizes have to monitor their cash flow carefully, both large and small businesses. So that's why normally both large business and small business can collapse if they run out of cash. Sometimes large businesses cause small business cash flow problems. This is because they may bully small business by delaying payments for the goods and services and they have bought from them. This is a situation if you do, because large businesses, they are dealing with the small businesses and they're taking long time. Sometimes they are taking say 1 million worth of items from the small business and then giving a check for like a dated check which is realizing in 6 months. So small business have to wait 6 months to realize the check like that. This is happening actually in everywhere, right? So cash flow management, since they are larger and more powerful, it is difficult for small businesses to demand payment. In some countries, government has taken some measures to limit this practice. This is called bully. Even the business so there can be bullying situations are going on. How it's happened? Powerful business always try to dominate the market by, for me, it's like a market, try to be a market leader, and that he's deciding the terms and conditions. Right. This MCQ questions we already discussed right now. Guess the relevant formulas. Net cash flow equal cash inflow minus cash outflow. And cash flow forecasting formula is given. Cash or closing balance equal opening balance plus net cash flow. And opening balance equal closing balance of the preceding month or previous month. So there's a small activity. You can practice this one also. Right. And you can see January, February, March, April, May, June, first 6 months. So net cash flow, cash inflow minus outflow, you can find out the figures there, missing figures. And opening balance is here. And then closing balance is here. Closing balance equal net cash flow plus opening balance. Then you can go to the closing balance, you will go to the February as an opening balance. So do this question as a homework question, you can see, and send me your answers so I can say whether it's correct or not, right? So always be serious with your work hard. I think then if you practice more questions, definitely it will be very easier for you to achieve a good grade in examinations. Okay, let's go to these MCQ questions. Cash is the amount of money a business holds. Which of following describe cash? Agilash, what's your answer? What do you think about this question? Question number 1. Notes and coins, coins and deposit in the bank. What is
So notes.
only notes? What about coins? Huh? No, actually, cash means everything, no? Notes, coins,
Okay,
and
then notes, coins, and deposits.
deposits, everything. Yes. Okay. Second question I'm asking from which of the following is true about cash flow? Which of the following is true about cash flow? Anik, what's your answer?
So it's different from profit.
Exactly, very good. It's a different from profit. Talk about the main, like about 4 reasons we discussed in the book. There are more reasons actually. It's different from profit totally. Okay, question number 3. Where does the main cash inflow for most business come from? Right? Arun, what do you think? Where is the most like the main cash flow for the business coming from?
So customers pay for products.
Customers, exactly. Customers paying for the products, interest received on loans, interest payment on bank overdraft, these things, correct. And question number 4, what is net cash flow? What is net cash flow? Samara? The difference between revenue and cost, the difference between money in and money out, the difference between assets and the liabilities. Okay, Liara, you can answer.
The difference between money in and money out.
One, exactly. Part 2, difference between money in and money out. 5th question, which of the following is an example of cash inflow? Raise your hand if you know the answer. Which of the following is an example of cash inflow? New bank loan, payment of gas bill, offering trade credit to a customer. Divesh, what is your answer, Divesh? No, Kiara, you can tell the answer. A new bank loan, yeah. A new bank loan is a cash inflow, correct? Easy question. And question number 5. If the opening balance 5,000, total receipts 4,000, closing balance 3,000, what's the total payments? This question little tricky, right? Opening balance 5,000, so total receipt and total payment we don't have, but we have closing balance. Closing balance is equal, opening balance plus net cash flow, which means if you add 5,000 plus X, that the answer is equal 3,000, right? So opening balance plus net cash flow equal 3,000. So in order to find the net cash flow, we need receipt and payments, inflow, outflow. So here opening balance 5,000. So then to get the 3,000, it should be 5,000 minus 2,000, right? So here opening capital, opening balance 5,000, total receipt 4,000. Then how much is the total payment? The net cash flow should be minus 2,000. In order to get the minus 2,000, there should be minus how much? 6,000 outflow should be there. So payment should be 6,000. You got it? Because receipts inflow 4,000. If you minus 6,000 only, we can get the minus 2,000 figure. Then 5,000 minus 2,000, then closing balance will be 3,000. Like that, even this kind of MCQ questions can be come to understand the main concept of the cash inflow, outflow, net cash flow balance, right? Okay, question number 7. Which of the following hinders the cash flow? Hinders means which of the following will reduce the cash portion, will decrease the cash flow? Asking debtors for payment, repaying an overdraft, securing better trade credit terms from supplier. Okay, Devane, what's the answer?
Sir, question number 7, right, sir?
Yeah. Which of the following hinders the cash flow? Reduce the cash flow.
So is it prepaying an overdraft?
Excellent, excellent, very good. So prepaying overdraft. If you pay something, so money will be going out. Question number 8. What is the long-term way of improve cash inflow? Long-term way of improving cash inflow. Take out a loan, take out an overdraft, use a factoring service. Long-term method of improving is definitely loan, because factoring, overdrafting, these are short-term. Loan is a long-term thing. You can get some 10-year loan, 15-year loans. You can slowly you can pay that loan after taking a huge amount, but with the interest. 9th question. How can cash flow will be improved? Cash flow can be improved, if you actually lease out equipments, you can improve the cash flow. If you buy some equipment on money, so you can't actually, a lot of money will be going out. So if you go for a leasing option or hire purchase option, you can save some money. And the last question, you can see, what does the positive cash flow mean? it making a loss, business is making either profit or loss, is making a profit. Definitely, we can't say business making a loss or profit. So answer is number 2. It can be either profit, either loss, because there's a difference between cash flow and the profit, right? So that's just all about the cash flow forecasting, guys. So I think tomorrow, like examination, I think you might get a good understanding about the cash flow and source of finance, everything, right?